Welcome back to Fabricating Awesome Stuff. In today's episode, I'm going to show you how to fabricate a bracket to be used to attach the manifold pressure sensor for the avionics suite to the battery box in the engine compartment. This is a skill that you'll find very useful when installing your avionics or other accessories. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or if there are any additional details that you'd like to see. And I hope you enjoy today's episode. Okay, today we have the manifold pressure sensor that needs to be mounted in the engine compartment. That'll send a signal from the engine to the manifold pressure gauge, and so we have the we know what the manifold pressure is on the engine instruments. So to do this, I'm going to use this piece of aluminum that I've kind of marked out the size that I want it. And these holes need to be drilled for the in order to use screws to mount this. And so I'm going to use this piece of paper here as a template to figure out where to drill the holes. So by using a pencil on here, the hole will be outlined so I know where to drill the holes. So we've got the one side, I'm going to get the second side here. Okay, you can see where the holes are going to be. So now I've set this down on here, and I'll use a spring punch to mount the center, to mark the center of these holes. Okay, so those two divots are where we're going to drill the holes. We'll go ahead and drill those now. Okay. And deburr these holes with a deburring tool, both sides. Okay, next we're going to up drill these holes. I'm going to put some nut plates into this to be able to screw this to this plate. I'm going to use nut plates. So I'm going to up drill the holes. Okay. Okay, we'll deburr these holes. And we're going to need some holes for rivets on both ends after this is bent in to be able to rivet this to the battery box. So I'm going to mark these. We're going to come in a 1/4 inch. And say about 3/4 of an inch from the ends. Do the same thing on this other one. 1/4 inch. 3/4 of an inch from the end. Okay, we'll mark those holes. And we're just going to make pilot holes in this so that when we're ready to mount it to the battery box, we can match drill it. Just make small pilot holes. This will be for the rivets that hold it onto the battery box. Okay. Clean up my mess. Deburr these holes. Okay, so next we need to mark where the nut plates are going to go. So I'm going to use the nut plates itself and one of the number 6 screws. And we'll mark it. Okay, so those are where the holes are going to go for the nut plates. Put a cleco in there so it doesn't move. And drill the second one. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay. That's where I want that one. Okay. Go ahead and drill this. A cleco clamp to hold that in place so it doesn't move on me. And drill the second one. Okay. Deburr the holes. Okay. Now I'm going to dimple the rivet holes. And the riv nut's going to be on the back side, so I want the dimple to be on the front. I'm going to use a dimple die. Use a dimple die to dimple these holes so that the rivet will fit down in there. See how that is dimpled now? Okay, and now we're going to need to install rivets. So we have to install the rivet dies. Rivet dies are flat. And we'll adjust it up so when we flatten it, it'll just have a tail. So we'll put the first one in. So we want it on the back side, like this. We're going to put a cleco in it to hold the rivet nut in place. There we go. Okay. Get a 3/32 rivet. Put it in here. Now see, it's flush because I dimpled that. I'll go ahead and use the squeezer. Squeeze that rivet. There we go. Okay. So now that's riveted on that side. We're going to put one more rivet in. And we're going to squeeze that one. Okay, so what that gives us is a threaded hole for this screw, so that when we install it on the airplane, we can screw this directly to that plate. Now we have the plate made with the nut plates for the screws that will hold the manifold pressure sender, and now I need to make the bends on this to be able to attach it, make an actual bracket out of it. So I'm going to bend it first on these lines that I marked on the back. Go 90 degrees. Okay. Do the same thing on this one. Okay, so now I'm making a little box. Now I have to put some little wings on that. So we're going to bend this up. Okay. Get a flanging tool. It's a little too close to get the proper bend, so I'm going to see if I can just bend it with the flanging tool. It'll make it a little easier. Yeah, that worked pretty well, so let me try that again. Get it at least bent part way up. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, so with this will mount to the battery box, and the sending unit will mount right to it with screws. Okay, here's the finished bracket for the manifold pressure sensor. You can see that I have it mounted with screws with the nut plates that we installed in an earlier video, and this will be attached to the battery box in the engine compartment to make it really easy to get to.